Towards the end of 2018, 2 years after my spiritual awakening began, I started falling even deeper in love with psychology and the nature of the human experience. The more I continued my own inner healing and recognizing how much I was growing as a person, the more I felt this increasing desire to want to help others heal from their painful past as well. And so began the journey of carving out a brand new path for myself, one that has taken many unexpected twists and turns, but ultimately led me to my destiny. I actively started seeking out ways in which I could help others heal themselves, and the most obvious next step to me was to become a life coach. After completing my 8-week journey, I sought out a few people to coach in exchange for testimonials in order to start practicing everything that I had learned. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I learned a lot of lessons pretty early on. One being that when you give your services away for free, especially something like coaching, the unfortunate thing is that when clients don't make an investment, they don't really have anything to lose, which in my case meant that they didn't take the program very seriously. So by the time the trial period that we agreed upon came to an end, not only did they make very little progress, but they also weren't interested in purchasing a package to continue working with me. Fortunately, this experience didn't deter me from trying again. I went back to the drawing board and started constructing a full-blown course based on every single thing that I had learned since day one of my spiritual awakening, then offered my program to the world. I drummed up a little bit of interest, but people were hesitant to commit due to their busy schedules. Then I thought, what if I create a women's circle based around the new and full moons, and keep it open-ended where they could show up at their own convenience instead of locking into a 3-month commitment? I spent a few weeks preparing this new idea and cleaned up a spot in the woods to host the circles come springtime. Only 2 of my friends showed up for the first circle, and 1 to my second one. By this point, I was starting to feel frustrated and confused. How could I be following my intuition, and yet I still keep getting terrible results at every attempt I make? Meanwhile, I was taking a bunch of online courses in a variety of healing modalities, including one that helped me get in deeper touch with my psychic abilities. And thankfully, I still had my photography business to lean on as I figured out this new path. Deflated confidence or not, I was still determined to figure out a way to help people become the best version of themselves. Shortly after my failed attempts at hosting the women's circles, a girl that I had slowly become friends with earlier that year and I decided to partner up. She already had her own yoga studio and a pretty solid client base, so we sat down one day and I showed her all of my plans and what I was trying to do with my women's circles. We ended up rebranding the entire thing and made it into more of a collaborative experience to offer it over the course of 3 months. A couple weeks of planning later, we launched it and it flopped. Not because the idea wasn't any good, but because of the time commitment it would require for the ladies who were interested in attending. At this point, I was ready to finally try the one thing that I knew deep down I really wanted to do: host a weekend retreat. I had already attended a few of them myself, and I had a pretty solid idea of what to do versus what not to do, just based out of my own experiences. And since I already had an entire syllabus of guidance and wisdom to teach, and my now friend-turned-business partner had the financial backing to invest in an Airbnb, as well as a spiritual community of women who were primed and ready for this new level of transformation, it was a no-brainer that we finally had the perfect combination of ingredients for success. We ended up renting out a beautiful house on the lake with a private beach in the backyard and sold out our retreat to 4 amazing women after launching it in June. Meanwhile, I had finally completed phases 1 and 2 of the Psychic Abilities course that I was taking, received my certificate as a channel for spirit, and finished a month-long private mentorship that I ended up winning on the day of graduation. My mentor encouraged me to start my business right away, and I was so excited because once I learned the ins and outs of psychic abilities and the way in which mine show up for me, I realized that I had naturally been intuiting messages for people my entire life. I just wasn't aware of it before then. So it made me feel that much more confident in starting my new business. My mentor also insisted that I create my own Facebook group and instructed me to go live at least once a week. I was terrified at first since I had only ever done one other live stream before, but keeping the promises I made to myself to keep showing up no matter how uncomfortable eventually paid off in my favor. Not to mention the fact that had I not stretched myself beyond my comfort zone back then, I wouldn't be making the videos I am today. I just wanted to hop on today and just talk about the full moon that we're having. Well, technically it already started around 4:30 this morning, but we have a full moon in Sagittarius today. So I figured it'd be a lot easier to just do a video instead of writing a book. Hey guys, happy Monday. I hope you're all off to a beautiful start to your week. Hopefully you all had a great weekend as well. And so today's energy reading is going to be really short and sweet. I ended up hosting weekly live streams where I'd connect with spirit and bring through guidance for people who'd leave their questions in the chat box. I also hosted monthly dream symposiums to help people decode their dreams, as well as energy updates to provide astrological forecasts for each week ahead. And within the matter of a couple of short months, I had built a solid little community of like-minded souls on similar journeys. In late July, my friend and I finally hosted our spiritual retreat, and it was a huge success. It was the very first time I felt like I was doing exactly what I came here to do, and I was ready to host more. We ended up launching our second retreat in August, which sold out fairly quickly, and it felt like I was on top of the world. Gathering so much positive feedback indicating that I was on the right path really motivated me to keep pursuing more of what lights me up. I started collaborating with other spiritual leaders in the community, interviewing on various podcasts, and started offering in-person psychic readings at local events. I'm not sure if it was due to the high vibrational energy that I was emitting into the universe or what, but dream opportunities kept landing into my lap left and right, seemingly out of nowhere. I started traveling for work, documenting other spiritual retreats and events, as well as branding photography for small business owners. Not only were my endeavors proving to be a great success, but my photography business slowly but surely started shifting into more of the kind of work I had wanted to shoot all along. By the time December rolled around, I revisited my New Year's intentions that I set the previous January and realized that 3 of my manifestations actually came true. I wrote in my journal that I was going to host a spiritual retreat on July 18th through the 21st, and my very first retreat took place exactly 1 week after my projected dates. I also wrote that I was going to help 10 women transform their lives by December 31st, which between both retreats, I ended up helping 10 women by the middle of October. Another goal I checked off before the end of the year was starting my YouTube channel. I had already been creating and sharing pick-a-card readings in my Facebook group, which were a really big hit, so I finally decided that I might as well share them with more of the world instead of hiding them away in a private Facebook community. There is so much power in writing down our goals. I can pick up any of my old journals between then and now and see that many of the things I've written down over the years have actually come true. So if you have big dreams like me, write them into existence. And of course, take inspired action too. If you've been following along with my story, then you already know that I worked a bunch of dead-end jobs. So to finally create a life that I loved and was excited to wake up to every day was absolutely priceless to me, and I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat. To this day, I'm so incredibly grateful to have tried out so many new and unique things, regardless of how many failed attempts I had to face. I've learned that it wasn't because I was doing something wrong or not following my intuition correctly. It's that my intuition was guiding me on a journey of learning and building character in order to prepare me for the things that were meant to work out. In order to succeed at anything, we have to fail first, because failure is feedback on how to improve for next time. And so as long as we take the necessary time to sit and reflect on each of our experiences, what went well versus what didn't, we end up gaining a lot greater of an understanding on how to move forward and eventually succeed. No path worth taking in life is ever going to be linear. No matter what new endeavors we choose to go after, there will always be tons of trial and error. Even starting my photography business took me years of challenges and learning until it eventually ran like an actual business. And even though it took me a while to find my way through all the ups and downs of these new ventures, my path ultimately proved to me that I could in fact trust my intuition. I no longer felt any need to look outside of myself for validation that I was heading in the right direction like I used to do all my life. I finally understood that the only thing I needed was my connection to my higher self and spirit to guide my way. And even though things finally started working out in my favor, I still had a lot of limiting beliefs that came up to the surface to work through. I struggled a lot with feeling worthy of all the opportunities that were coming into my life, which taught me that even when our desires come to fruition, there are still a whole new set of lessons that come along with it. And so no matter what level you play at in life, there will always be opportunities for growth and improvement. Another lesson that I had to learn was to stop putting myself on the back burner. I was so busy staying on top of all these various endeavors that were all happening simultaneously that I started to burn myself out towards the end of the year. At one point I had 6 photography sessions stacked on my laptop waiting to be edited, while I was still wrapping up other projects. It created so much overwhelm on my nervous system, to the point that I wound up getting laid up for 2 weeks with excruciating back and hip pain. Thankfully, it didn't lead to more serious health issues, but it definitely gave me the reality check that I needed in order to prioritize my self-care and filling up my own cup before assisting others in filling theirs. Aside from staying healthy, taking the necessary time to rest and relax not only charges your batteries, but also allows you to focus and work more efficiently. Not to mention the fact that I'm more tapped into my intuition when I practice self-care on a regular basis. It's so much easier to receive clear and direct messages when I'm grounded and at ease in my body, instead of frantically tending toward busy work and expending all of my energy. Something else I had to learn was to stop taking other people's judgments to heart. I dealt with a lot of people who misunderstood psychic abilities and mediumship, including certain individuals who spread false rumors about me, saying that I was working with the devil. It's honestly sad that people are so attached to their fears and closed-mindedness around these socially decided taboo topics. Everyone has psychic abilities. It's just a matter of fine-tuning them and deciding whether you're using them for good or bad. And if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you already know that I only use my abilities for good. On the flip side, I also had to learn pretty quickly that the pre-existing people in your life who think it's really awesome that you commune with the spiritual realms will perhaps out of pure innocence assume that you're now their personal free reader. The amount of messages I received on a regular basis from people asking, could you just tune into this teeny tiny thing for me really quick, got old real fast. Not only does it take an incredible amount of energy to tune into spirit, but it also takes a lot of grounding and preparation to be in the right headspace and energy. The first few months of my new business were exhausting, but eventually I got better at setting boundaries, that if they wanted me to tune into something for them, they needed to book a reading. I also had to start creating space from certain people in my life, especially family members, who were still adamant about trying to talk me out of my new goals. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If we're not careful, other people's judgments can easily become our own limitations. It's crucially important to be discerning of who you share your ideas and plans with. Otherwise, it's easy for people to fill you with doubt before you've even begun. Yes, sometimes the people closest to us are just looking out for our best interest and want us to really think about our choices so we don't accidentally make the wrong decisions. But most people speak from their own fears, insecurities, and past experiences. Never let others discourage you from what you truly feel called to do. If you feel intuitively guided to go down a specific path, you will be the only one to receive that vision for yourself, and no amount of explaining is going to make them see it too. No matter how much pushback, retaliation, or criticism I receive throughout this particular part of my journey, I'm extremely grateful for every single lesson that came my way. I truly believe that every perceived failure, setback, and judgment from the outside world is simply an opportunity to grow into more of who we came here to be. And for that, I feel incredibly fortunate. The moral of the story is, even though things may not work out the first several tries, it doesn't necessarily mean that the path isn't for you. It could just mean that you still have some things to learn before the right opportunities come your way so that you can not only receive them, but maintain them too. So as long as you make adjustments when necessary, and it still feels aligned to keep on trying, eventually it will work out. Just be prepared for it to look a little bit different from what your ego may expect. Our paths are meant to be uncertain when we actually follow our intuition. The only way to truly discover and fulfill our life's destiny is to try out things that truly inspire us, learn from our mistakes, and keep moving forward. So the next time you find yourself debating on trying something new, remember that the only way to grow is outside of your comfort zone. Even if you're afraid, do it anyway. You only have this one life to live, and you get to decide how you're going to spend it. Take that leap of faith and trust that the universe will catch you.
Why are you filming?
Just in case.
As soon as I step, the board's gonna go that way, and I'm gonna like split.
Then don't do it.
So how else are we gonna do it?
We can find a different spot.
They're all gonna be like this. It's all gonna be stinky, muddy, fucking whatever.
How come you don't just do it from the nose like you were a second ago?
Because this will be less rocky sideways.
Gotcha. Graceful.